Hello and welcome to eMultiskills video tutorial. In this video tutorial, we will learn what is vacuum and auto vacuum in Postgres SQL. First of all, let's see what is vacuum in Postgres SQL. Uh, let's consider a situation wherein you have a table with over a million of rows and your application continuously updates and deletes the rows into the tables. Let's say thousands of rows are getting updated or deleted every hour. So just to maintain the MVCC architecture in PostgreSQL, what it does it, let's say the 1000 records has to be deleted due to the nature of the application. Then those 1000 rows are not getting deleted. What is done by the Postgre is they are marked as the dat tuples. That means they still occupy the space into your table and the table size keeps on growing. That particular row is not usable and it has no dependency. So those are marked as dat tuples. So every hour, let's say thousands of rows are getting let's say piled up in your table, and within 24 hours, let's say you have 24,000 rows which keeps on accumulating. So Postgre came up with the process which is called as vacuum, wherein those dead tuples they will be cleaned up by a process which is called as vacuum. So what is vacuum? Vacuum is used to free up the dat tuples into the tables, and these rows can be reused. So you can use that rows later on. There may be an option also wherein that row can be returned back to the operating system. So let's see what is vacuum at a glance. So what happens? When you do the vacuum, which is a command on your Postgre. So Postgre vacuum command will remove those dead tuples or those rows which accumulated when they have been deleted or updated from the table, and they are valid both for table and the indexes, because when you update your table or delete the data in your table, the corresponding indexes are also altered. When you do the vacuum, it is not going to return the unused storage to the operating system, but those particular storage area, let's say this is marked as the tuple, which is has been deleted. This is no more usable. When you do the vacuum, this will be returned back to the table and this can be used. So when you do the vacuum, it takes the compute from your system. It is going to take CPU. It is going to use the I/O. So this has to be done only when your application activity is low and you have enough storage on your operating system. You can do something called as vacuum full. When you say vacuum full, it is a process which takes lots of compute, which is CPU and memory, and it is going to return back the storage to the operating system. So only when you say vacuum full, this is going to return the unusable storage to your operating system. But this is a very challenging task, because when you do the vacuum full, it is going to log the table. That means it is a kind of complete downtime for your application. You cannot do any operations. Even select operations are not allowed. When you do the vacuum full, it is going to create a new copy of the table, so that those data tuples will be completely removed. So you need to have double the storage, which is a kind of challenging task in your production environment. This can be only done when you are going to refresh your entire system, and consider this only if you have enough storage. So most of the time this is not possible. So what happens when a table with millions of rows in a day and 24,000 rows are updated or deleted? the statistics of the table also gets changed. So instead of 1 million rows, there will be minus 24,000 rows lesser in that table. So when the query execution happens and that table is part of the query, then it is not going to have the current statistics. So what you need to do after such activity wherein the table is heavily updated, then what you need to do, once you have to do the vacuum so that the unused the dead tuples are removed, and once the dead tuples are removed, you have to update the statistics of the table using the analyze command. So this will update the statistics, and the latest statistics or updated statistics are used for the query during the execution plan, and your query will be able to execute in a lesser time. So when you do the analyze, you can do it for the entire database if you think that a fragmentation has the updation has happened so much. So you do two things: you do the vacuuming and you do the analyzing. Vacuum we do because a lot of dead tuples has accumulated. Analyze you do because the corresponding tables and indexes, what do you say, the stats has also changed. Uh, Postgre came up with the with what do you say, the process which is called as auto vacuum. So instead of you doing it manually vacuum, Postgre will do it on your behalf. So by default, auto vacuum, the vacuuming and analyze is happening automatically at the database level. So by default, this is on in Postgre. So you need to remember some of the important parameters of the auto vacuuming. So auto vacuuming is when the vacuum is done automatically by the database. So by default it is on. So in postgresql.conf, if you say auto vacuum, this should be on. That means your auto vacuuming is working. Then there is another parameter which is known as log auto vacuum minimum duration. As the name suggests, log. So it is going to log the auto vacuuming activity when the value has been mentioned. If it is -1, that means it is not going to log the activities. If you mention the value greater than 0, then it is going to mention capture what all auto vacuuming it has done. Then another parameter is auto vacuum max workers. That means by default there will be one auto vacuum process. So that is uh, uh, in case you have n number of tables where this vacuuming has to be done, then one worker will not be sufficient. So you need to increase the number of auto vacuuming workers. So by default it is 3. So along with your auto vacuum process, there will be 3 more sub workers which will do the vacuuming process. There is something called as auto vacuum nap time. So once the auto vacuum has launched for the first time and it has finished its task, then after what time, after sleeping for how many minutes, it is going to execute again. So it is going to execute again after 1 minute. Then we have another important parameter, which is auto vacuum. Vacuum threshold is equal to 50. If 50 rows have been updated on a particular table, then auto vacuuming is going to happen on that particular table. So vacuuming and analyzing, they work together. So once the vacuum has happened and there is a updation of 50 rows on a table, then it is going to launch auto vacuum. So vacuum and analyze is going to happen on that. There is something called as auto vacuum scale factor equal to, by default it is 0.2. That means if a table which has 100 rows and if 20% of the rows have modified or there is a change, then auto vacuum is going to launch and it is going to remove the dead tuples and it is going to update the statistics. So vacuum and analyze is going to happen. So auto vacuum analyze scale factor equal to 0.1. That means if a table which has 100 rows and if 10% that means 10 rows have modified, then the analyze command is going to execute on that. And similarly, you have auto vacuum, vacuum cost delay. That means the default cost value for the auto vacuum, this is 20 milliseconds, and default vacuum cost limit, this is by default -1. So now let's proceed with the demo. So So I'm going to put this in the comment section. So what is vacuum? Then what is a manual vacuum command? Then what is vacuum full command? And how do we check whether vacuuming is enabled in my system or not? And then we'll see some of the parameters. So let's close this first. I'm going to close this out. Okay. I'm logged into the MovaXterm tool, and I'm connected to my database server, which is 192.168.1.61, and I'm on the command prompt. So I'll just say select name comma setting from pg underscore settings, where name equal to auto vacuum. So by default this is on, so this will show that auto vacuum is on. And we discussed about the auto vacuum parameters, like auto vacuum on, this is by default. Then when auto vacuum has to log all the activities. If it is -1, it is disabled. What is the maximum number of workers that should launch along with the master auto vacuum process? Then you have auto vacuum nap time, for how many minutes it's going to sleep between the second execution. Then you have auto vacuum threshold. That means if 50 tuples have accumulated, or 50 rows have updates minimum, then it is going to execute. Then you have the analyze command is going to execute when there are changes in 50 rows. Then there is vacuum scale factor 20%, 0.2. That means if there is a change in 20% of the data, then vacuuming is going to happen on the table. And similarly, analyze is going to happen if there is a change in just 10% of that. Those were the important ones. And again, that why Postgre creates vacuum, it is just to maintain the MVCC architecture, that those dead tuples keeps on accumulating after deletes or update. And finally, we'll see. Let's list out the databases. If I switch to DVD rental database, it will be like this. And if I do a vacuum process, vacuum verbose analyze, this is how do we do it. So you can see that it is doing, although there are no dat tuples, so it is going to do it on the indexes and the tables both. So you can see if I fire this command, so this will show how many. So it is select rel name comma n underscore dat tuples from pg underscore states underscore user underscore table. So this will show the tables in my current database, which is DVD rental. So how many dat tuples are there? If there are dat tuples, then you can vacuum it. Otherwise, auto vacuum is going to happen automatically. You can check the storage utilized by all the tables. Uh, Let me do it this way. Let's see the size of all the tables. So rental table has this much of size, and so on and so forth. So if you are doing vacuum full, it is going to take this much of storage again, and this is like creating a new copy and deleting the old one. And you can see when the vacuum has last happened on this particular list of tables, since we did it right away. So this is the current timing, and you can check This is the way you check it. So just a recap of what we have done is we checked what is vacuum in PostgreSQL. A vacuum means it is just like that tuples keeps on accumulating in a table when those are deleted or updated, and you have to either manually remove it or it is removed by something which is called as AutoVacuum process. So vacuum is nothing. It is like the data tuples keeps on accumulating in your tables and indexes when the related data is updated or deleted, and it accumulates uh, in your table. And this keeps on growing the size of the table unnecessarily, and the performance get decreased. So you have to remove those data tuples from the index and table using the vacuum command, or auto vacuum does it itself. If you say vacuum full, then it is going to lock all the tables, and it is going to use the double store. It is going to create a new table as well. So we discussed about the plan, updating the planner. So it is like in AutoStats, in AutoVacuum, your vacuum and analyze work together. So once vacuum happens, the corresponding statistics of the table also changed. Let's say in a table with the 1 million rows, 100,000 are updated daily, then you have to update the statistics of the table as well using the analyze command, or auto vacuum does it automatically. Then we discussed about what is auto vacuum. So when vacuum happens automatically by the database, it is known as auto vacuum, and by default it is on, and there are some corresponding parameters, and the important ones are like auto vacuum max workers and the nap time, etc. What is vacuum threshold, vacuum analyze, um, like 50%, 50 rows are updated, then this auto vacuum is going to launched, or if 20% of the rows are updated or 10% of the rows are updated, then analyze is going to kick off. And finally, we saw a very small demo. You do the vacuuming manually, and it works that way. So I hope this is going to give you a brief idea of how this auto vacuum is working, and we'll see new property of Postgre in some other tutorial. I hope it is going to help, and thanks for watching.